Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Colin the Crow Clark, and I'm suited and booted for a reason. You see, PGL dropped their announcement today, and there's a lot of information to cut through, a lot of information to go through, but I wanted to make a quick video going over what I believe are the highlight points of this entire announcement. And, you know, since it's a brand new announcement, you got to showcase a little bit. I decided to get suited up, booted up, and ready to go for the entire of PGL's Gears Esports season. Let's kick things off, though, with their most initial announcement showing how their first two quarters are going to be laid out. The fall quarter, September 22nd, online play will begin with October 21st being Pro League. So from the 22nd of September to October 21st, you're going to be able to qualify, try to get into that Pro League. You're going to get basically a full month to get your team together, get situated, and give everybody hell trying to crawl, scratch, and get your way into one of those spots. December 6th through the 8th, the third big major note from this fall quarter. We got our first international major. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, San Diego. We're going to stay classy, but we're going to stay Gears. We're going to keep the hype going back to the West Coast, ready to show off and show out. Thank you, PGL, for that opening venue and event announcement. Now we're going to move into that winter quarter where they've moved into the second quarter. They've broken it down into 4 quarters, so I'm assuming everything's basically going to fall around a 3-month time span because 4 quarters into a year, 12 months divided by, 4, 3 months apiece, whatever. Anyway, January 4th, Pro League qualifications begin again right after they get done with that major. They're going to reset those Pro League spots, try to get some new teams in there, see if anything shakes out a little bit differently after that major, that invitational, which is the challenger point. And then you're going to have the challenger points and the ladder are going to reset for only the Australian or Asian and South American regions. So only those two will reset shortly after that major. So December 6th through 8th, you have the major. You kind of have a 15 to 20 day period where everything's going to be the same. And then in Australia, Asia, and South America, you're going to have those points and those ladders reset on January 4th, with Pro League qualifications ramping right back up. On January 11th, you get the Pro League qualifiers for Phase 2 of the Pro League. They're going to see what teams shook out of that first international, how the tree has kind of let them fall to the ground. We're going to get those qualifications under control. And then the next day, after that second set of Pro League qualifications, we're going to get the new second quarter Pro League to be started. And then the Challenger ladders and the tournament ladders will all be reset for North America, Latin America, and EU. And the reason for this delay for those 3 ladders is because as the Pro League is set up right now, you're going to have an NA team, a set of NA, a Bravo set of NA teams. You'll have a Latin America and an EU, each with their own 4 teams. So I think they've really doled this out well. They want Asia and they want Australia and they want South America to get cracking, get practicing, but while we get those numbers up across the world, we're going to go where our heaviest hitters are. So we're giving North America 8 teams. We're going to give EU 4 and Latin America 4. Rounding out the end of that winter quarter, as you get to the end of winter, basically, as you're heading into spring just before, in March, they announced it already. The second major international will be in Mexico City. I think that's a big announcement. We're starting on the West Coast because we get a huge following out there. A lot of people come out, show out, do the right things, and then we go straight to basically the Mecca of Gears. We go back to Mexico City where it is always bedlam in March. So we have December San Diego, we have March Mexico City, we've got that Pro League going from October to the end of January, and then we've got it resetting from January to March. So we get to see how these first 2 quarters are really shaking out. Let's go over some quick hits, though. I want to kind of touch on these things so that we have an idea of how this works. Each week, challenger points can be earned by teams that will be competing in both ladders and online tournaments. Those challenger points help you get into the Pro League. They also help you maintain a roster position way up there on the leaderboard, so you're seeding going into the majors or going into regionals will be higher, so you won't have to fight your way from the bottom. You'll be starting at the top of the mountain in those tournaments. Teams will hold the points, not players. That's a big thing to remember. Instead of a true roster lock, we're actually coming up with a team lock. And I think that's one of the best things we need to look at. And right here, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. If you can see here, roster restrictions become teams participating in the ladder competition must have a minimum of 3 players that have a player on that team for at least 1 week. For teams participating in weekly online competition, they've got to have a minimum of 3 players that have been on that team for 2 weeks. So without having a true roster lock, we're doing a roster restriction. It's going to help some of that roster mania, some of those people floating around, and I think it's one of the things that will really be helping teams stick together, develop more chemistry, and perform better, which means we're only going to get better and better matches each and every week coming out of this. I think that's one of the best possible moves that PGL, that TC, that Microsoft have made, because one of our biggest gripes was that there was no roster lock. Anybody could go anywhere they pleased, and we constantly had this turnover of all these teams, and nobody really got to be set outside of that top, 4 echelon. Did we not see any kind of movement? We also have what I think is one of the bigger possibilities is we have a player restriction now. Player restrictions on every specific player. When a player joins the team, the player enters that restriction period. It's like a restricted free agent for 3 days. 3 days. If the player plays a match and then leaves the team, the player is not allowed to join another team until the restriction period is ended. So basically, you're a restricted free agent. You join a team, you're there for 72 hours come hell or high water, so you might as well stick it out the week to play in those ladder matches, or even the 2 weeks to play in those online weekly tournaments. For me, I'm going to keep harping on this. We needed a roster lock. We needed some form of this going forward. I am so happy to see things like this be implemented. We now have restriction on players just floating from team to team, because sometimes the grass may look greener on the other side and they chomp at the bit to get it, but it is not. So I think it's great that we've moved into that now. We've moved into an idea and an area where teams will have a greater basis of chemistry, of teamwork, of time spent together. At the end of the quarter, you're going to look for the teams with the most challenger points in each region, and then you're going to get winners of double elimination tournaments will have travel awarded to them to the majors. If you are some reason not able to travel, whether it be for, reasons you can't leave the country, you can't travel because you're not of age, but online you have been busting people up, you can actually take a cash prize. They actually talk about it in one of the rules toward the very end. It's $2,500 for the entirety of the team, but TC and PGL, I believe, retain administrative rights to make that number smaller if they so choose, even if you do finish way up there in the standings. The Pro League. I'm going to do a quick breakdown of the Pro League real quick, if you don't mind me. Real quick, let me just take a look and make sure that I got everything so far. We're going to come up here. Yeah, there you go. What I just talked about. Travel awards will be awarded to all Pro League teams, as well as the team with the most challenger points at the Travel Awards lock, and the team that wins the Travel Awards ladder playoff in all regions. So you got to meet the minimum age requirements, and you got to be able to travel. So those are 2 things you got to remember. If you do finish at the top of those ladders, or you do win one of those tournaments, you still have to be able to travel. The teams unable to travel, though, can opt for that cash prize that they say. And it is written right down there, the administration reserves the right to adjust travel awards pricing at any time. Lastly, I want to go over the Pro League setup, the way that that's been put out, because a lot of people are going to have some confusion about this. So, NA gets 2 Pro League sections. EU gets 1, Latin America gets 1. The EU's Pro League will consist of 4 teams, okay? They're going to consist of 4 different teams. The Latin America will consist of the top 4 teams. Those 2 are pretty cut and dry. You're one of the 4 best, you got a Pro League spot. Boom. End of story. When it comes to North America, the NA side of things, we've broken it up into Alpha and Bravo. The Alpha section will have the number 1 ranked challenger points team. So whoever our best team is at the time will be in Alpha. followed by the losers bracket ladder team. So the double elimination tournament they have to see who can make these pro leagues and the qualification tournaments they have. There comes the team out to play them in that winners bracket final. They're guaranteed a spot. Boom. Then you get the number 3 ranked challenger point team and the number 5 ranked challenger point team. The reason being is you won the first seed as a challenger point team. You deserve to have a little bit of softer competition up there. So you're going to get the loser bracket team out of the ladder tournament, out of the ladder qualification tournament, and then 3 and 5. Down in the Bravo section of North America, you have the winner of the ladder bracket qualification tournament. They're going to get that top seed in Bravo, which I think is a big deal. So even if your challenge points aren't low and you have to play in through that ladder point bracket and you're there, boom, there's your top seed. And then the 2, the 4, and the 6, all even numbers down there, rounding out our 8 teams for the NA spots. So I really do believe even if you are not one of those teams that performs week in and week out, you can still catch fire, go to that ladder team challenge qualification tournament, show out, show up, and end up in Pro League. And all of these teams will actually end up with those guaranteed spots in majors. So these are the teams you got to be looking for. There's 4 Pro League sections, each with 4 teams. I think you got to look at this as your golden ticket. You've got to work your butt off to get into the Pro League each and every quarter. I think that is all for the notes that I kind of had going over their announcement. But what I do want to put out is I need to make sure before it gets out of hand. I have 1 or 2 more things I want to throw out there. Number 1 is mouse and keyboard is out for competition. The rule states, Rule 5 states, that all competitions will be played through Xbox One, and it'll have a controller. They have unless otherwise stated in there, and I think that might be for regionals or smaller venues that have the ability to have everybody playing off of a PC, but still be using a controller. They've given themselves some wiggle room in that rule, but the rule specifically states right now, Xbox controller. Those are your only options. So don't get too frantic. Don't worry about mouse and keyboard in competition yet. And I also want to talk about this. Do not rely on the roster restrictions sections of these new rules. Get a team, stick it out. Do not let yourself fall victim to roster mania. Keep things moving forward and get yourself a Pro League spot so that you can get yourself to those majors and those invitationals. The regionals will only be open, basically, the way that it reads on the website right now, regionals will only be open to non-Pro League teams. So they're actually giving those regionals out. Those regionals are going to be held for the lesser teams, the teams that aren't in Pro League, that need that practice, need that experience, and it'll get them exposure. It'll build them up. I think that's a fantastic thing to do because it gives other people chances to lift trophies, lift a championship, if that's how those regionals will be set up. And also, still having the local Microsoft tournaments, which I'm sure will be awarding points on some level or help you toward qualifications. So please get out to those Microsoft tournaments. Please go and show your support for the Microsoft stores, for TC, for Microsoft Studios, for everybody involved in this esport. Make it out to those tournaments and play in your local lands. Make it out to those regionals. Play in those. Try to hoist a trophy. Play in any and everything you can get your hands on. Find yourself a squad, get 4 others, get a coach, grind, work, and make sure you do not sleep on Gears Esports this year or any coming year, because there is no better time than the present to get in on the ground floor of Gears Esports partnered up with PGL. I'm unbelievably excited for this. I love the announcements that they've brought out today. I hope you get a quick hits off of this video. I'm going to do a quick recap. I'm going to kind of give it a 3, 2, 1 count, go over a recap of the video, and I'm going to put that in description. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Quick recap time. September 22nd, online play, Pro League qualifications. October 21st, Pro League begins. December 6th through the 8th, San Diego Major. January 4th, Pro League qualifications will begin for the second quarter. Challenger points for APAC and South America reset. January 11th, Pro League qualifications, Phase 2. January 12th, Pro League will begin. And then the challenge and ladder points for North America, LATAM, and EU will reset. March, we have Mexico City Major. Every week, challenger points can be earned. Teams hold the points, not players. Restrictions upon players. Keep yourself together. At the end of the quarter, we're going to look for those teams with the most challenger points. Winner of a double bracket elimination ladder tournament, they're going to get travel to the majors. If you can't travel, cash possible reward. Administration will kind of put together the set amount your team will earn. Pro League, 4 sections. NA gets 2, Alpha and Bravo. The ladder tournaments will have a winner bracket and a loser bracket. The winner bracket team will go in Bravo. The loser bracket will go in Alpha. The Alpha section of NA will also have the 1, 3, and 5 teams from the challenge point ladders. The Bravo will have the 2, 4, and the 6 from the challenge point ladders. EU and Latin America, be one of the 4 best teams. Make it in. 17 or older to compete. You're going to have the top 3 spots looking to get themselves into those pro leagues. Everywhere else, regionals only open to non-pro league teams as it reads on the website. Microsoft tournaments, get out to those local lands, play in them. Be hype, be ready, be prepared. I hope you enjoy the video. If there's any questions you have, leave it in the comments down below. If there's anything about Pro League, about the qualifiers, about PGL you want to talk about, I will answer it to the best of my ability or reach out to those that may know more than me, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. As always, hope you drop a like, maybe a sub. I appreciate your time each and every time I make one of these. And as always, have an amazing day.